Reading 130 from the Psychological Commentaries on the Teaching of Gurdjieff and Ouspensky by Dr. Maurice Nicole, Volume 3. Great Animal House, July 17, 1948. The Unmanifest as Cause of the Manifest. Control of Unmanifest Thought. Work idea. The ray of creation and the derivative table of hydrogens are diagrams referring to the scale of being. The universe, understood aright, is a scale of being, higher and lower. For example, the being and intelligence of the level represented by the physical sun is at a far higher level than the being of the earth. Similarly, the being and intelligence of hydrogen-12 is far greater, wider, more understanding and comprehensive than that of hydrogen-48. From this it follows that anything, let us say a work of art, into which hydrogen-12 enters it at a higher level than one into which only hydrogen-48 enters, and therefore more deathless. Notice how the Gospels still conduct meaning. Commentary. Today we will try to consider how, in the scale of being, that which is at a higher level is the cause of that which is at a lower level. We have to realize that the lower cannot act on the higher, but the higher can act on the lower. If it were otherwise, the whole principle of the ray of creation would be violated, and in place of a descending order in scale, there would be chaos. Now, the higher is not manifest to the lower, but the lower is manifest to the higher. Nothing takes place in a man without a cause from the unmanifest world, but we do not notice this. The unmanifest thought, for example, is the cause of the manifest action. The idea in the architect's mind is the cause of the house that becomes manifest. And as the table of hydrogens shows, the unmanifest earth precedes in scale the earth itself. Now, what precedes in scale is higher than what comes after. It follows, therefore, that the cause of a thing is at a higher level than the thing itself. In the ray of creation, which is a ladder of being, the absolute is the highest, and so the supreme cause. In the table of hydrogens, the unmanifest earth is higher in scale than the manifest earth. So similarly, the idea of a house in the mind of the architect is at a higher level than the house that becomes manifested, eventually in time and space. The idea becomes manifest, but in reverse order to its conception. With the complete idea of the house in his mind, the architect must start with one brick, so to speak. He must start from the smallest manifest part to reach the whole. This fact, so little grasped, causes many people to give up too easily. They have a good idea, but do not calculate the second force involved in getting this idea into manifestation, which involves, as it were, a reverse process and experiment and patience. Consider the patience involved in the creation of manifest man, the immense cycles of experiments on animals and plant life, etc., before man's manifest brain and body could be fashioned. Understand that unmanifest man preceded manifest man, just as the unmanifest earth preceded the manifest earth. Remember, the essence of man comes from the stars. Now, one can go with what is lower or higher in centers, and so all this leads us practically to the observation of centers, and we will speak of thinking center. All centers can work on a low level. We are told that we must observe the work of our centers and learn to distinguish between them. Now, if we do not observe our thoughts, they may, and do, work out into all sorts of unpleasant manifestations that we could avoid if we were more awake. A thought is unmanifest, but it leads to an action. I am using the term as signifying not visible, not tangible, not evident to the 5 exterior senses. An action is manifest. The cause of an action may lie in a thought that is accepted as true. I said nothing takes place in a man without a cause in the unmanifest. If a thought enters the mind, and this it does from a still higher unmanifest, and if you identify with it, it will become the cause of some action, or pain, or illness. If you identify with the thought, you accept it. If you accept it, then it has power to work out in action. That is, you sign the check, or, to change the analogy, you post the letter. A familiar theme in dreams. It is just like writing an actual letter and hesitating before you post it. Once you have done this, you have to pay for the consequences which are now beyond your control. Anyone can have a negative thought, but if you consent to it and express it, that is, post it, you are under its power and all its consequences. This is worthwhile reflecting upon. A negative thought can enter the mind. One can, if awake, watch it, but not shake hands with it, not consent to it, but in fact get tired of it. Once it knows it cannot entice you, cannot put you to sleep, cannot hypnotize you with its poor little makeup, then no doubt it will not come into the theater of your mind again. Now, thoughts visit, like birds, the cage of your mind. Some are wonderful. All sorts of thoughts enter your mind on different scales, with different being, coming from different levels in the scale of being. To understand all this, to be able to observe it, one must have worked hard at observing the thinking center and the kinds of thoughts that enter it. Most of the thoughts that enter freely are utterly useless, mere riffraff. Until you can see something about the quality of the thoughts that enter, you will remain asleep in the intellectual center. You will be the victim of everyone, of anyone. We at least have to learn to distinguish in outer life between criminals, gangsters, evil people, tramps, lunatics, and people of goodwill. Yes, but internally people do not do so. Why? Because they have no idea that we are as open to violence within as we are without. We have no system of thoughts, no teaching, nothing, in fact, to know how to act inwardly. We do not know what to work on inwardly, apart from the fact that we have no idea we have an inner life that is our task to get into order. So we have to hear, think of, and see the truth of another kind of teaching referring to what is within. For the state of yourself inwardly makes you either in heaven or hell. So the work says the mind must change first. You have to begin to think in a new way. This work is to make you begin to think in a new way. And you will all remember that in the Gospels, the same thing is taught under the word metanoi. That is, thinking beyond how you think at present. That is, change of mind. The mind cannot change without new ideas from which to think. I cannot explain to you the change of mind that comes from beholding and gradually understanding that the universe is a scale of being and that the unmanifest is the cause of the manifest. So I advise you to notice continually your thoughts and separate from every thought that can make you negative. If you think evil, if you think negatively, it will all work out into action or illness. One can do a lot of work on the control of thought and the distinguishing between negative thought and useful thought. Every event can be taken negatively through some thought about it. Events are being offered you every moment. If your thought is unobserved, if you cannot see your thought, you will probably take every event negatively. Remember that the thought can be observed and not allowed to infect the emotional center. But if it is identified with, it will rouse the negative part of emotional center with all its endless miseries,